All right, my friends, so I just got done watching a video by this guy, Meet Kevin, and I actually like his videos. I was fond of him. Younger guy, kind of like a Grant Stephan, whatever, and I think they know each other, so it was cool. I was a big fan of his. Entertaining guy, real estate guy, and I got a lot out of it. He actually did a video on the scams of solar panel companies, and I thought that was fantastic. And I linked to it in the community section of Heritage Wealth Planning. But there must be something going around out there in the YouTube, Neverlands of YouTube that says your house is not an asset. Because Kevin brought that up, and he disputed that to some degree. I thought it was great. I thought it was a fantastic video, but he didn't give it enough, and I was surprised. And I don't want to say I'm surprised, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper on that. But anyway, and I've had a number of people on my own YouTube channel say, your house is not an asset. And I always thought, I said, okay, these people are crazy. But I guess there's something going, maybe Dave Ramsey people, I don't know. But there's something going around out there that says your house is not an asset. It's just the weirdest thing I've ever heard. I don't understand it. So, look, I don't want you to have a mortgage. But let's start the premise of what we've told about how leverage works. All right, so you got $100,000, your fair market value, $100,000. You're going to put $20,000, so you have equity, $20,000. Which means you'll inherently have a debt of 80. I mean, this is literally as simple as you could possibly be. So 100,000 is fair market value. You have equity of 20,000. You have debt of 80,000 bucks. All right. So you inherently have $20,000 as an asset. That's a fact. So your house is an asset of $20,000. Now in this case, because you put the equity in from basic accounting, you took it from the balance sheet from an asset at the bank to an asset in the home. I mean, this is literally that simple. In your balance sheet, this is a statement, an asset. Now again, it didn't increase your balance sheet or your net worth. It just transition it from your savings account into here. That's literally all it did. So it's certainly not a liability. It is an asset. Now you did add liability, and now you have $80,000 of debt where you might not have had $80,000 of debt before. But you also have a fair market value of your house. All right, so in this case, you're breaking even. You're even Steven. You say, okay, I had $20,000 over here and no debt. I had a net worth of $20,000. Now I got $20,000 of equity, right? But I got $100,000 of my fair market value. Fair market value minus $80,000. I still have $20,000 of net worth. I have done nothing in terms of my balance sheet. I am zeroed out. It hasn't made me money, hasn't lost me money, nothing. Now there is something about closing costs and all that, but I'm not going to get into that. All right, now what happens if this goes up by 5%? And this is the value of leverage. Well, now your fair market value is $105,000. What's your debt? Your debt is still $80,000. But what's your equity? Now your equity is $25,000. So your equity has increased by how much? It increased by 20%. So we had a 5% increase in the fair market value led to a 20% increase in your equity. Your net worth is now $25,000. Your net, in this one example, your net worth has increased by 20%, even though we only had a 5% value increase in the asset that you're looking at, the home. So the reason for that is because of leverage. All right, so every dollar of appreciation you get to keep. However, you only have a fixed amount of debt. That doesn't appreciate. I mean, it's factored into the loan. I mean, you have a cost. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's all free. But every dollar appreciation is yours. That dollar appreciation tied to your initial equity that's what the leverage is. I put in 5% and now I get 20% return. That's exactly how leverage works. And it can work great in a home ownership without question. We know that for a fact. Now, on the other hand, if the market goes down to $85,000, now it's not likely to, but if it were, well, guess what? You only have your equity. You still have $80,000 of debt. So now you only have $5,000 of asset. I mean, that's just how it works. I mean, and same with stocks. I mean, if you had 20,000 over here in stocks, and the stock's going to have 50%, you only have 10,000 stocks. That's how it works. The benefit about a real estate market is that you have you can expect to get at least an increase with the rate of inflation. I would have no qualm saying you should be able to get inflation appreciation on that. Now, a little bit more if you live by the beach, a little bit less if you live in, I don't know, wherever. My island, Welfare Island now, if you would have had that house, you'd be a rich man today. But hey, either way. So that's how it works. Pretty simple, nothing fancy there. But so that's the beauty of leverage, but leverage can work against you, which I'm not going to get into here. So a lot of people say, I want to leverage my property simply because I can get 25 for every 5% increase in the value, the appreciation of the property. I get a bigger increase relative to my overall financial positioning, my overall net worth, because I'm leveraged. And it can work the other way against it too. It's just not likely to happen in real estate, especially in places where there's so many restrictions on building and whatnot. I mean, my goodness, the facts are we're not building enough homes to keep up the demand. So prices keep going higher, which means your appreciation is increasing relative to the equity you put in. All right, but I also want to talk about, let's say you have that $100,000 home free and clear. All right, so we have this asset of a $100,000 house. All right, so you have this home, $100,000. All right, so if you had $100,000 in your stock account, no one would sit there and say you don't have an asset. No one would say that. Now, people say, oh, I guess people say the reason your home isn't an asset because it costs money. You got to pay for the property tax. Okay, you got to pay, I don't know, your homeowner's insurance. I got a guy coming out tomorrow to do the termite inspection. All that stuff costs. Well, I get that. But so does an asset in a stock portfolio. I mean, if you got dividends, long-term capital gains, maintenance fees, you may have fees for managing all that. There's a fee there too. No one would sit there if you said you had $100,000, it's not an asset. Now, on the balance sheet, from cash flow, that's different. From your income statement, it's different. From a balance sheet perspective, it's absolutely an asset. But it gets better because don't forget, you have to live someplace. And we're just going to say it costs you $500 a month in rent. All right, so let's say you did not own this. Instead, you rented someplace. $500 a month in rent. That's $6,000 a year you got to pay. Rent. And let's just say we've already used your standard deduction. So you make you and your wife make $30,000 a year in income. We're going to say essentially you have a $6,000 taxable income. You have $30,000 of AGI, $6,000 of taxable income, all right? Because we're going to use that for an example here. That means you're in a 10% tax bracket. So it's going to cost you $600 in taxes. You've got to generate the income in order to pay the rent. You have to generate the income in order to pay the rent. In this case, if you had to generate $6,000 to, i.e. pay the rent, and you had $30,000 of adjustable gross income, it's going to cost you $6,600 in total cost to pay $500 a month in rent. Because you have to pay the $500, but you also have to pay taxes on the income you generate in which to pay the rent. Does that make sense? You have to pay the rent. The money's got to come from somehow, and if the money comes as taxable, it's not only going to cost you the money for the rent, but it's going to cost you the money for the taxes in which to pay the rent. You've got to generate that. And that's where the beauty of owning a home comes in. Oh, I got to keep doing this. Oof, man, it still hurts my arm a little bit. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do this course quite yet because my arm's still not quite there. All right, so remember, we have $30,000 a year of income. And we'll just say $24,000 from Social Security and $6,000. We'll say $24,000 from a pension. I don't care where it comes from in this example, but you got $24,000 of income, and we need another $6,000 to pay the rent. So we have $30,000 of adjusted gross income, if that makes sense. $24,000 to live, $6,000 to pay the rent. Well, if you got your home, $100,000 home, and it's free and clear, zero debt. It's not looking so good. How much does it cost for your rent? So you own the whole thing. How much does it cost to rent? Nothing. So not only do I not pay the $500 a month rent, I also don't pay the $600 in taxes. So my imputed income is $6,600 because I don't have to generate the $500 a month in which to pay the rent, which means I don't have to pay the tax on that $500 a month I have to generate in which to pay the rent, which means I have $6,600 of imputed income. And that's the beauty of owning your home outright. You still have to have a place to live. And the place to live costs money. The money has to come from someplace to pay the rent, or in this case, it comes from the fact that you have your home free and clear, which means you don't have to pay the rent, which means you don't need the income in which to pay the rent, which means that income you don't need won't be taxed. It's kind of like when you grow your own food, and I use this example all the time. If I can grow strawberries out back, and let's just presume there's a sales tax on strawberries, some places do. If I can grow my strawberries out back, not only do I not need the money in which to buy the pint of strawberries, but I also need the money to pay the tax in which to buy the pint of strawberries. My imputed income from growing my own goods is that right there, that, well, say $2.50 a quart or a pint, whatever it is. So not only do I not need the $2 and whatever taxes, that money's, I don't need it, but I still have the same value of eating the strawberries. Same thing when you look at it with solar too, by the way. One of the things about PV panels is that at the end of the day, you don't need the income generated in which to pay the utility. And if you're paying 7 cents a kilowatt hour, that means that 7 cents a kilowatt hour you don't need to generate. Does that make sense? And because you don't need that income, you're not paying tax on that income. There's imputed income in anything you can do that you can provide for yourself that is not being used as money that you have to declare as adjustable income, AGI, adjustable gross income, that just goes into your pocket or just sits there. But either way, you're still living. So I am living just as large as my neighbor down the street. We're in the same $100,000 house. But he's got $500 a month rent. I got no rent. He needs to generate $6,000 in which to cover that rent, which will cost him taxes. I need to generate nothing because I own the house outright. Now, you could argue, hey, you got property tax. Look, man, unequivocally, yes. So the imputed income is a little bit less than $6,600 because I still got to pay property tax. Well, my property tax in that case is probably, what, 1%, $1,000. So my imputed income will be a little bit less because property tax and homeowners insurance, get all that stuff. Either way, though, it's not going to be anywhere near what the rent would be, and I just won't be, or else there'd be no one in the rental market for sure. So remember, there's always imputed income you got to look at when you're growing your own growing your own food, generating your electricity, having your home paid off, having your car paid off. That's another big one too. I no longer need to pay X amount of dollars. I don't need to generate it to pay that car off. I mean, there's always imputed income when you don't have to generate the income in which to make that cash flow outflow that you need. It gets overlooked a lot. You got to understand how this works. All right, don't forget, smash, like, subscribe, and go check out that guy, Meet Kevin. I like his videos. I'm not big on real estate investing, but you might be. And if you are, you might find it informative. We'll see you.